Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, presented by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor.
Welcome back, everyone. We have the folks from ODFW here, Derek Bowman, talking about chronic wasting disease approaching our borders of Oregon. It's already in Idaho, and we are doing what we can to get that information out to you so you're aware of what this actually is. Now, I'm no biologist, and thank goodness for biologists of ODFW. They're not the ones that we complain about, everyone. They're the ones that are actually on the front lines, that are actually there. Typically, the ones that actually know what's going on are the ones that are, I'm not going to go there, but it's easy for me to. This is important. This is one of those things that, it being 2023, how many more negative things could happen, right? If there's a way that as a user group, as hunters, that we can help stave this off, we need to do it. Obviously, I mean, not obviously, but I got an 11-year-old. I want her to be able to go hunting, right? She's going to want to have her kids go hunting, right? And you can't do that if this comes in and wipes out our herds. And it's a real thing. I mean, am I stressing that too much?
No,
I mean,
it's very accurate.
I mean, it's a real thing. Just imagine drawing your tag. Why did it get so easy to draw my first choice tag? Well, because there isn't anything left. I say that jokingly, but that's certainly something that can happen. Look at some of the information that's out there from Michigan, some of the other mid-country states, whatever they might be, where they were taking 14 deer a year per person, and now they're lucky if they're able to get one, and that's because of chronic wasting disease. It's a real deal. Okay, so I want to make sure that we're not skipping anything here. So let's go to what does this actually look like. Okay, if I'm going to a check station, is it a long process? Is it something that's going to take a while? And I think we have some footage for you here to take a look at it as well, everyone.
Yeah, so this really isn't a complicated process. It really is like a 5 minutes out of your time. So I kind of describe it as like a NASCAR pit crew. You roll on up to these check stations.
I love it. Okay.
And you've got two things happening. People are taking your head, and they are the head of your animal that you harvest. And they're taking the biological samples. So the CWD samples, we're taking a tooth sample so we can get age for you.
Right.
And simultaneously, somebody is asking you for your information, your hunter ID information, the date of harvest, and then where that animal was taken.
Okay.
And then you're done. We give you your head back, you're off.
Gotcha.
And so it really is just a quick turnaround that doesn't require much time at all.
Okay, so I'm going to equate it to similar to maybe some of our boat check stations where we have zebra mussel check stations where you go by, you got to get checked, but a lot more user-friendly, because if you've ever been to one of those check stations for the zebra mussels, it takes more than 5 minutes. I don't care what anybody says. It certainly can be interesting. Okay, so how long does it take? Say we go through, I'm lucky enough to take an animal, we go through the check station. How long does it take, before I get to my real question here, how long does it take to get the information back from ODFW on if it is or isn't positive for CWD?
Yeah, so when we take that sample, we send it to a lab, and it's usually 3 to 5 weeks before there's results back.
Okay, so it does take a little time.
It can. At the faster end of things, it's 2 weeks turnaround. But sometimes when things get busy, it could be closer to 4 to 5 weeks. But a lot of folks are working on trying to reduce that turnaround time.
Gotcha. Which is obviously, as a hunter, we want to be able to go home and be confident that what we harvested is safe for us to eat. One of my, not catchphrases, but one of the things that I've said for years is perfect meat. Doesn't matter if it's a fish, if it's a big game, it hasn't been manipulated by humans, doesn't have hormones and weird stuff injected into it that scares the holy moly out of a parent. Trust me. Don't read some of that stuff if you don't want to learn. But can we eat it, right? If we're in camp, we take an animal and we follow that tradition that everybody's done, and some of the traditions out there even further. You know who you heart people are, you goofballs. You know who you are. I've hunted with you. Is it safe for us to eat prior to or even post getting tested before we get those results back?
So thus far, there's no evidence to suggest that humans can contract CWD from eating contaminated meat or handling contaminated meat. Okay. However, it's not recommended that humans consume the red meat from a CWD positive animal. Okay. So we recommend, though, if you have some apprehension, if you have some concern, just wait. If you get that sample into us, again, there's multiple ways that you can get your animal sampled. Just wait until you get those results back. So go home, care for the meat, whatever that may be, if you do it yourself or do it at a locker, get that thing on ice, and then once you get those results, Ideally, it'll be a negative result, and then no problem, and now you have peace of mind moving forward.
You had mentioned that there's other sources of testing. Say that we're coming from somewhere else, we don't come across one of those check stations, taxidermists, and meat processing locations can also help. Is that right?
Yeah, and also we're trying to come up with new ideas for ways to get those samples. Even at some of our ODFW offices, we are establishing bins or barrels where you can come and just drop the head off, have the necessary information attached to it, and we'll take that sample as well.
Okay.
So any ways which we can obtain that information, we also require, getting samples from roadkill salvage. Deer and elk farms have to give us samples, so we're really trying to do everything we can to get those. But hunters are absolutely on the front line. They're going into the most miserable places on our landscape to take these samples.
Depends on how you look at it, but true.
And so those are the folks that are going to be able to get a good, adequate representation of our deer and elk herds entirely across the state.
Okay, so from what I understand, if I'm lucky enough, let's just use myself as an example. I don't have a huge, success rate, but I've got 6 or 7 deer in my lifetime with stick and string. I'm kind of proud of that. One day, maybe an elk. You never know. I'm not as cat-like as I used to be, everyone, which is probably not a good thing. If I take one, if there's no check stations available as it stands now, what would be your recommendation that I do? Because those check stations aren't open currently, right? They're going to be slanted maybe towards that rifle hunter timeline that you can go onto the website and learn about some of that information as well. But what would be your suggestion to me if I do take a deer or elk here in the next couple of days and there are no check stations?
Contact your local ODFW office.
Okay.
We're strategically located around the state, and I'm in the same boat. I've got a North Coast cow tag that if I'm successful, usually same thing, usually not. But if I do, I'm going to get it at one of our offices.
Okay.
And so that's just, we're strategically located. So contact us. And again, we can make arrangements. Anyway, this is such an important thing. We'll do a lot to try to help meet folks in the middle.
How long is this going to, I guess there's really no answer. My question was obvious. How long is this going to go on? How long as hunters do we have to be concerned with this? And I can't see an answer. Is there an answer?
I don't think there is an answer. I think unless somehow science comes up with a way to eradicate it, but thus far, nobody has been able to eradicate CWD anywhere it's been found.
Crazy.
And so this could be a new norm, but again, as ideally Oregonians, we can be more proactive, get ahead of things, so that way if we do get a positive, we can respond immediately. And we do have a CWD response plan. And again, all these other states, unfortunately, have been through decades of terrible circumstances, as you described earlier.
Sure.
We're learning from that.
Right. And
so we're all sharing information, so it's all hands on deck. And this isn't just an ODFW thing. Sport groups, legislators, tribes, taxidermists, etc. We're all engaged on this.
Yeah.
ODFW is just here to be responsible to disseminate this information and try to keep groups organized. But otherwise, it requires everybody, especially hunters.
Okay, well, you kind of answered my last question was, well, like I always do, or most of the time, right, as a professional interviewer. Final thoughts. What is we can make sure that everyone is aware of before we wrap this up?
So CWD is nasty. It's always fatal. It is untreatable. It leads to declines in deer and elk. It's right on our doorstep. But if we take action now, we can work to control it and limit the impacts. So get animals tested, no matter how you come about them, and also continue to share information with family and friends so we can all know what we can do to help out with this topic.
Gotcha. If you're out there and you're watching, you're like, hey, what? Am I really going to be able to do anything? Yes, you can. I know that it's a little bit inconvenient. I know that for myself, I live in Oregon City, okay? In Oregon City, where I'm at, I'm within 10 minutes of an ODFW location. Now, if I take a buck or if I take well, it's a buck tag only, I guess, so it's a buck. You're just taking your head in to let them look that over. And can you just tell your taxidermist or whoever's processing the meat, which I think you had a great reminder to maybe wait on processing that meat until you get a response back once you have it tested. Just to say, hey, listen, can you get this information to ODFW? Is that something that you can do?
Yeah, absolutely, especially when people have reservations about they want to mount it. They don't want any holes in the cape. We will not take a sample if that is the case, but we will advise that person work with their taxidermist to take that sample. So we're really accommodating on that front.
It's a real deal. Everyone, that's why I thought that this was something that was super important. And I'm going to keep you apprised of this going forward. This is something that, as, again, a user group, and it's a very fragile thing that we have here. and we don't want anything else to screw things up, and this is certainly one of them that gets out of control. Derek, it was really nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing some info. Good luck on your hunt, by the way. But don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to have your Chevy Silverado Tech Tip of the Week. If you're curious about what kind of shotgun you should be shooting this year, or for that matter, how you should run your boat on a big river, come right back. We'll be back with more after GPS Come 21.
Outdoor GPS is brought to you by Terra Firma Foundation Systems. We keep homes safe, dry, and stable. By Yakima Bait, steeped in tradition.